Coming up on AgweekTV, a South Dakota ethanol plant is working to get running again after an explosion shut it down. We'll meet two brothers who turn farming video games into real-life farming.
We'll kick off our 2023 AgWeek Cereals Crop Tour with a look at crop conditions in North Dakota and South Dakota.
And we'll visit a winery that serves up its homegrown wine. Welcome to AgweekTV. I'm Emily Beal. Russia has halted participation in their deal that allows Ukraine to export grain through the Black Sea. Hours before the deal was halted, a blast knocked out Russia's bridge to Crimea in what Moscow is calling a strike by the Ukrainian sea drones. The latest blast on Russia's bridge to Crimea follows months of Ukrainian strikes on Russian supply lines as Kyiv pursues a counteroffensive to drive Russian forces out of its territory. The Kremlin states there was no link between the attack and its decision to suspend the grain deal over what it called a failure to meet its demand to implement a parallel agreement, easing rules for its own food and fertilizer exports. An explosion caused major damage to a South Dakota ethanol plant earlier this month, but Ringneck Energy is confident it will be up and running again soon. Many producers in central South Dakota and the surrounding areas haul their corn to the only ethanol plant in the area, Ringneck Energy.
I'd say 80 to 90% of the corn that we raise every year goes through the plant.
However, production has come to a halt due to an explosion that caused damage to the fermentation area.
We're finding that very little equipment was damaged. It was, more of a flash than a fire, and that's really beneficial. The whole fermentation area really wasn't impacted. The upper level was where most of the damage done. The sheeting is kind of designed to come off in an instance like this, and that helps preserve a lot of the equipment.
And with corn in the area looking good this year, producers are relying on the plant to accept their crop.
Our wheat crop in this area is not up to average what it usually is, but our fall crops look really good. I know there's a few people that are a little bit worried about it, but on whole, Ringneck is working with the producers, and I think here in the next 30 days we'll kind of know what Ringneck will be doing, and the farmers will be able to either deliver there or maybe possibly to other sites.
Ringneck is optimistic that they will be up and running again soon.
Our fermenters are full, and we'd like to be able to at least process that and get those tanks empty.
As they rebuild, they are also taking safety measures to try to prevent another explosion in the future.
I know that where the gas came from has been an issue with other explosions, and they thought that they had put the right safety precautions in place. So that's going to be the total discussion.
The cause of the explosion is still under investigation. For many people, playing video games is just a hobby. But in this week's AgWeek cover story, we meet two brothers in central Iowa who turned playing Farming Simulator into buying their own farms.
Grant Hilbert has always had a passion for farming, following his grandparents around their northern Iowa farm as a kid. But he knew that he wouldn't have the opportunity to go back to the family farm.
And so I was like, okay, well, somehow at some point I want to be able to farm, whether that's when I'm 50, 60, 70, or like 40 or 30 years old, something like that.
In high school, he began sharing his love of farming by creating a YouTube channel called The Squad, where he posted videos of himself playing a video game called Farming Simulator.
And I started doing it, and I didn't know if it was going to go anywhere. I knew there was kind of a business opportunity, and a bunch of agriculture kids started watching the channel.
At the same time, his younger brother Spencer also began posting the same type of content on his own YouTube channel, Spencer TV.
Like, I might as well fire up a laptop and start playing this game and see if I can, get some views and start a YouTube channel.
Since then, both YouTube channels have grown significantly, with The Squad having nearly 1.5 million subscribers and Spencer TV having nearly 500,000 subscribers. And they were able to buy more than $2 million of farmland to start their own operations.
I bought my first piece in early 2020 and just kind of getting started buying land, and then started buying farm equipment, and then now I just document the journey of like a beginning farmer on YouTube.
I helped Grant for the past 3 years, so got a lot of experience, kind of learned hands-on what farming is about, what it's like, and I feel like the best way to learn is probably to do it. So now, technically, I would be a farmer if you could say. I planted my first crop, it's in my name, kind of doing the full thing.
Pioneering a screen-to-farm business and learning along the way that farming is far different than it is in the game.
Everybody always asks the question, is it the same? Like, did you learn anything from farming similar to the game? And as cool as it would be to say, yes, I learned a ton, it really doesn't teach you too much.
You could read more in the next AgWeek magazine or at agweek.com. Ahead on AgweekTV, we kick off our AgWeek cereals crop tour with 2 stops in the Dakotas.
Get a jump on next season's crop. Before you put your planter away after the planting season, bring it to the experts at Titan Machinery for a full inspection. Titan Machinery service technicians have the experience and training to inspect your Case IH planter and get it in optimal condition for next season. Get a head start on next season and get the peace of mind that your planter is ready when you store it for the winter. Contact the planter experts at your local Titan Machinery Case IH dealership today.
Getting down to business on the farm means hitting the office early, making sure your team's ready to go, getting updates from the field, and talking with your management team. At Bremer Bank, we understand the business of farming and how to protect and grow your operation, so you can be sure your present and your future are in good hands.
There's no easy button, no guarantees, or promises of a good year. This is farming. It's unpredictable and demanding, with long days and sometimes stressful nights. It's weathering the storms and coming out successful. Farming isn't for everyone. We thank those who make it their life, because it is for everyone.
You're invited to the 3rd annual Open Forum meeting for AGWEEK and Calcine. Wednesday, July 26th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Fargo, North Dakota. Speakers include Warren Bell and Landon Bunderson from AGWEEK, Steve Stumbris from Purple Cow, and Tom Vanderheiden from Calcine. Refreshments will be served. We look forward to seeing you there.
Since the inception of Vaterstadt, the spirit of innovation has led the company. We push the limits, providing innovative and reliable seeding and tillage solutions that simplify everyday life for farmers. We continue to reimagine the capabilities and technology behind farm machinery, providing customers with a perfect emergence while maximizing their yields. We look forward to growing together.
The AgWeek Cereals Crop Tour is sponsored by Bremer Bank, LCS, Ag Spray Equipment, the National Wheat Foundation, and AKE Safety Equipment.
This week, we kick off our annual AgWeek Cereals Crop Tour. We begin near New Salem, North Dakota, where Jenny Schlecht is taking a look at the spring wheat crop.
I'm west of New Salem with Andrew Kreit, the agronomy manager at Dakota Frontier Cooperative. And Andrew, tell me about this field we're standing in.
Yeah, so we're in a field of spring wheat here, just a little west of New Salem. Everything's looking pretty good for the year. We had a fairly slow, I don't know if you call it slow start or fast start, as everybody knows with what we were throwing in April. Everything around here got going not before the first day. It was the 1st of May before anything got seeded and really started rolling, and we did 2 months of worth of work in a month here. So most all the small grains around this area went in those first 2 to 3 weeks of May. We did have some later that went in a little after that, but everything got in fairly early for what the year was. The dry heat that hit in June, that maybe affected us more than than we know yet. It's gonna be hard to say what exactly things are gonna look like. We started off fairly dry in the last couple weeks, so we've been fortunate enough to catch some thunderstorms, decent amount of rain. I think that's gonna really help and save us.
This field in particular, the weeds don't seem too bad. That late start, I think everyone was a little concerned how things were going to be. What are we actually seeing?
Well, late start like this that we had this past year, there was hardly any spring burn downs done, which any year you see that, there's usually a fair amount of weed pressure that's going to come in season. We haven't seen too terrible, there wasn't much fall burn down last fall to speak of. So all in all, surprisingly, the weed pressure hasn't been too bad, but we've gotten a little better timely rains during the growing season, so that our in-crop applications did a lot better job than we've seen in the past couple years when we've applied that when it's dry. We have got a better kill, and weed pressure hasn't been too bad.
Thank you, Andrew.
We now head to central South Dakota, where producers are beginning to harvest their winter wheat crop, which is looking below average this year.
Winter wheat quality is down across central South Dakota this year.
Wheat around central South Dakota in our area has kind of been poor to below average, I guess. A lot of 15 to 40 bushel across the board, and I think it's averaging about 58 pounds, but it's nothing to write home about, I guess.
Pretty tough early spring. We came off a fairly wet winter, which was good right off the bat, but then through May, early June, it got excessively hot and made things difficult for grain fill.
Weeds are starting to impact the winter wheat fields.
Most of those things were controlled with adequate herbicide applications, but as this wheat has been a little bit thin, we're starting to see a greening up from weed pressure now as those early season pre-herbicides and early post-herbicide treatments are no longer effective, and so we're starting to see some greening up in the wheat from weed pressure, which guys are facing now at harvest.
They haven't seen a lot of diseases throughout the winter wheat crop this year.
Obviously, with the lower moisture, really not a lot of disease. I haven't heard of a lot of head scab. Had a few guys ask me about some wheat stem soft fly or wheat stem maggot damage, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Harvest is on schedule this year.
Probably right on average with typical harvest time. Maybe a little bit behind, but not much from a typical year. The quality of the winter wheat at harvest this year is a little bit lighter than we typically like to see, but the protein levels on the wheat are fairly good into average for what we would normally see.
Rounds and Meyer say the oats and spring wheat acres in central South Dakota are looking pretty good this year, thanks to recent rainfalls. Ahead on AgweekTV, a North Dakota winery serves up a peaceful country setting.
Are you struggling with saline soil conditions? Is your soil structure deteriorating and affecting your crop's productivity? Introducing calcine, the enriched acidifying agent designed to control and manage saline soil conditions. Calcine stops the deterioration of soil structure by moving salt out of the affected soil through leaching or carrying salts through the soil and away from the roots. By reducing salt buildup, calcine improves aeration, infiltration, percolation, and drainage, ensuring your soil remains healthy and productive. Don't just take our word for it. Producers throughout the upper Midwest have already joined in and witnessed the incredible results of calcine. Contact Erickson Custom Operations today to learn more about calcine and how it can transform your soil health. Calcine, revitalizing your soil, maximizing your crops.
Network, learn, and grow at Minnesota Farm Fest, August 1st through the 3rd. Visit with over 400 exhibitors and learn about the latest ag technology. Meet up with friends in the networking lounge for some live entertainment. Learn from ag industry leaders at the Farm Fest forums as they discuss the latest hot topics. Or catch live farm equipment demonstrations. Find out what you need to grow your family farm at Farm Fest, August 1st through 3rd in Redwood County. For tickets, visit farmfest.com. Network, learn, and grow at Farm Fest.
It was October 1st, 2009. We needed some machinery for the farm. We decided to see if we could become a dealer, and that's kind of grown into what it's been today.
We offer basically anything short line. Seed tenders, fertilizer spreaders, sprayers. We can really set ourselves apart by the knowledge we have in those things, by the amount of units we have on hand at all times.
I just have a passion for helping people, getting to know people. It just becomes a lot of fun.
The Cray Revolution Ditcher is the new standard for surface water management. The Revolution Ditcher leaves a smooth finished 5-foot flat bottom cut and cuts up to 10 inches in one pass. Throw dirt in either direction, up to 165 feet. Now with the hydraulic cross auger to break up dirt and keep you working faster. Check out the Revolution Ditcher at Crary.com.
AgWeek weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
How is the region sitting in terms of soil moisture? Here's John with our AgriWeather Outlook.
Hot weather coming north. That's the rule of things right now. The hot weather that's been sitting down there in the southern plains and the southwest. In fact, breaking records in some cases. It's a very extraordinary heat wave in the southwest, and we're just getting a piece of it moving up into the northern plains. And it looks like we're going to change the tone of our summer a little bit. It was hot in June, cool in July in the northern plains and upper Midwest, and now we're headed back towards some hot weather. Now, this is a little bit of an overly strong statement. I'm not saying we're headed into drought. It's just that the pattern setting up is a hot weather pattern, and there will be thunderstorms within the pattern, but not mostly enough to keep up with evaporation rates. So we're going to see some warm temperatures, and there will be a few storms, but the precipitation will end up being fairly spotty. And I'll show you where there will be more rains, but in general, over most of the agricultural regions of the United States, the rain just here over the next couple of weeks at least is going to start getting a little bit spottier. So here's a look at things. It's been extraordinarily hot down south, and now this little banner of hot weather, that's been there much of the summer. This, though, is expanded northward this week, so we're seeing some 90s and even a few triple-digit temperatures into the Dakotas. Not quite as hot on the east side in Minnesota, but you'll get some 90s this week over a lot of Minnesota into Wisconsin, down around Chicago, but it won't stay like that all week. It'll gradually retreat. Looks like we'll get a bit of a cool down, but this general ridge-shaped pattern is here to stay. What's changed? The big Hudson Bay low. It's becoming much smaller and less distinct as it moves up into the northern Canadian Maritimes, allowing for this warm weather pattern to develop. And as we go through the week, it will continue to be either warm to hot. Some heat relief into the far northern plains, Great Lakes by the weekend. But as we move toward the second week of this forecast, which gets us into the early part of August, the ridge is still here in the middle of the country. And that's going to bring at least warm to some hot days in the northern plains and a lot of continuously hot weather. A lot of 90s. Texas in particular will likely be staying with those hundreds. Rainfall this week, the last main week of July, the west and the Rockies mostly quite dry. The monsoonal rains not really doing much except isolated storms. I do see a little ribbon of storms in the mid-south, and the northeast will continue to have above average rainfall and probably another round or two of too much rain in spots. Into the northern plains, this area that's blank, there will be some spotty storms, a lot of them at night, but not likely enough overall to keep up with the evaporation rates. And the dry weather into early August will likely expand a bit, covering much of the Dakotas, as most of the nation looks a little bit drier as the month starts of August.
Meet the new varieties from the Wheat Geeks, who brought you Yield Monsters LCS Trigger and LCS Cannon. Take your yield to new heights with LCS Ascent. LCS Dual packs a 1-2 punch of yield and protein. Speed to harvest first with LCS Boom. LCS Hammer AX is the first coaxium spring wheat available to farmers. Let's talk about this year's harvest and how to make your next one a real bin buster. Visit limagraincerealseeds.com.
Come out to Dakota Fest, August 15th through the 17th in Mitchell, South Dakota. Connect with over 400 exhibitors specialized in row crop and livestock farming. Connect with other ag producers as you attend education sessions and live equipment and cattle shoot demonstrations. Connect with friends, family, and neighbors in the networking lounge with live music and refreshments. Dakota Fest, growing connections in ag. August 15th through the 17th. For more information and discounted tickets, visit dakotafest.com.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
I'm Peter Bosch. I've been working with Gateway Building Systems for a little over 20 years now. I chose Gateway Building Systems to build my shop because I wanted a building that could both be used for my equipment and as a place for my family to hang out and do things. I would advise anybody that's thinking about working with Gateway to go in and talk to the guys there, tell them your plans and your future dreams, and let them design something for you.
Getting down to business on the farm means hitting the office early, making sure your team's ready to go, getting updates from the field, and talking with your management team. At Brimmer Bank, we understand the business of farming and how to protect and grow your operation so you can be sure your present and your future are in good hands.
Chances are, wineries aren't the first thing that come to mind when thinking about the upper Midwest. I visited 4E Winery near Mapleton, North Dakota, just a few miles west of Fargo, where they're serving up their homegrown wine.
So this whole thing started kind of by accident, as these things often do. My husband Greg was a home winemaker, and we were having one of those conversations. What if we just think about opening a winery?
Much to Lisa Cook's surprise, that conversation made it past the kitchen table and started to unfold right before her eyes. The Cooks opened 4E Winery in 2015, but it hasn't always been smooth sailing.
Our hybrid grapes are a little bit different beast than the grapes that you find in California or in France or any of the other normal wine regions. But we actually started a vineyard in the back of this property first, and so this is how naive we were. We tested the soil, it looked fine. We planted 300 vines back there, and the vineyard failed because the soil has a lot of clay here in the valley.
The Cooks moved their vineyard to higher ground and found success. Growing a non-native crop in the upper Midwest has its challenges, but more grape varieties are being created to withstand the cruel northern plains winters.
Grapes aren't necessarily used to growing in this region, so it can be kind of a challenge, but luckily there have been grape varieties that have been developed, the cold climate grapes, so that they were actually bred to be resistant to the cold and survive most of the time, we like to say, our cold winters. So that's made things a little bit easier, but it's still farming.
Yes, more varieties are on the horizon.
4E Winery grows, makes, and bottles all their wine on site. No small task, but for Lisa, it's worth all the blood, sweat, and tears when she sees the tasting room bustling with customers.
I like to tell my customers that this is truly a labor of love with heavy emphasis on the labor part.
After the wine is poured, the guests enjoy time in the tasting room or sitting outside viewing the winery, looking at the vines that grew the grapes that now fill their glass.
Well, I think wine is more of a whole experience, and when you can taste the wine from the grapes that are grown in the place that you're tasting it, that's the most wonderful thing in the world. For me, I'm very passionate that wine should represent the place.
4E Winery's tasting room is open through October. Still ahead on AgweekTV, the flowers are in full bloom at the Fleurish farm.
Tanks, sprayers, nurse trailers, fertilizer equipment, and parts. That's just some of what we do at Ag Spray Equipment and have done for over 50 years. We take pride in being the industry leader in liquid handling equipment, and we encourage you to reach out to your local Ag Spray Equipment location in Fargo to see our complete lineup of offerings. We stand behind our products because we stand for you, the farmer. Ag Spray Equipment, north of Fargo on I-29, exit 69, or online at agspray.com.
Hamilton System Inc. in Drayton, North Dakota is the North American distributor of the Fantini corn and sunflower header. Both the L03 corn head and the G03 sunflower head have a simple, high-efficiency, low-maintenance PTO-driven gearbox, which eliminates slippage and power loss even in the most trying conditions. These heads are built with a solid one-piece frame and tubular steel construction that will withstand the harshest field conditions. Available in models from 4 to 18 rows, they adapt to any combine and come with a 4-year warranty on the transmission units.
As we approach the end of the 2022 crop year, it's time to assess which decisions were good and which ones were not. Producers will go through cropping practices and evaluate their performance and make their adjustments the following year. Do you do the same with your risk management strategy? Did your crop insurance levels give you the coverage and protection you needed for the year? Were you able to respond to the market opportunities when they became available? If your risk management approach needs a little attention, the professionals at Martinson Ag can help you. We give you straightforward analysis that helps you make the best decisions for your operation.
Since the inception of Vaderstad, the spirit of innovation has led the company. We push the limits, providing innovative and reliable seeding and tillage solutions that simplify everyday life for farmers. We continue to reimagine the capabilities and technology behind farm machinery, providing customers with a perfect emergence while maximizing their yields. We look forward to growing together.
There's no easy button, no guarantees, or promises of a good year. This is farming. It's unpredictable and demanding, with long days and sometimes stressful nights. It's weathering the storms and coming out successful. Farming isn't for everyone. We thank those who make it their life, because it is for everyone.
The flowers are in bloom at Fleurish Farm in Elk Point, South Dakota. It's one of the farms we're following this summer. On July 16th, the farm hosted its first U-Pick event of the season, and hundreds of people were able to create their own bouquets.
Just the creativity of it, and then also it's genuinely really relaxing, and it's something that you don't get to do every day. It's something that people kind of take for granted sometimes. You see the florals and the high-vis or whatever, and it's just, an opportunity to kind of build your own and get to know some of the flowers and, kind of map out and make something beautiful.
The flower crop is looking good this year. Throughout the summer, different flowers will bloom during different weeks.
People are picking zinnias. I've got chocolate lace flower. The snapdragons look amazing right now. Sunflowers are not quite blooming, but they'll be coming up pretty quickly here. And so some of those flowers that are considered like early summer flowers are what people are picking right now.
The farm also invited other local vendors to sell coffee and food and had a live band. The U-Pick events take place every Wednesday and Sunday at the farm through September. And in the fall, the farm will also offer pumpkins from their pumpkin patch. Stories you'll only see on AgWeek.com and in AgWeek magazine this week. Applications are open for farmland down payment assistance in Minnesota. And NDSU is trying out a combine attachment that could help zap wheat seeds. We appreciate you watching AgWeek TV. Remember to check us out daily on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to keep up on all your ag news. Have a wonderful week, everyone.